Hi there guys, I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech and this is a camera comparison between OPPO F7 and the Vivo V9. By the way, this video is being recorded on the OPPO F7 and audio is also from the phone itself. So check out the noise cancellation offered by the OPPO F7. Now with that said, let's check out the specs. On the rear, Vivo V9 sports a dual camera setup with a 16 megapixel primary camera with f2.0 aperture and a 5 megapixel secondary camera with f2.4 aperture. On the front, it has a 24 megapixel camera with f2.0 aperture. On the rear, OPPO F7 sports a single 16 megapixel camera with f1.8 aperture. On the front, it has a 25 megapixel camera with Sony IMX576 sensor with f2.0 aperture. These are some sample shots. Both phones support Auto HDR, so all these pictures were taken with Auto HDR. Capturing speeds while taking HDR images are much faster on F7. It's as fast as taking a regular picture, and that's a huge advantage. On V9, comparatively it is slow and it takes like a second or two to capture the image. On V9, images shot with HDR look slightly dull, but it has good sharpness, colors look good and images look more natural. On F7, HDR mode works really well, better than V9. In fact, it does it a bit more. Images look very pleasing, colors pop out a lot, but they don't look natural. Colors are slightly to the warmer side. Images are also a bit overexposed to make them look bright. So comparatively, HDR images look more natural on V9, but I like the images on F7. I wish OPPO could tone down the software processing a bit. Now for regular pictures, colors look warm and dull on V9 with a more natural look to them, and on F7, images look bright and colors pop out a lot, which are more pleasing. I didn't have any issues while taking macro shots on both phones, but comparatively, focusing speeds were better on V9. So for rear camera, it's all about personal preference. If you like the natural look, go with the V9, but if you want bright images with saturated colors, go with F7. Now for me, I'll pick F7 as the winner just because of the capturing speeds in HDR mode. Now coming to the portrait shots, here are the sample pictures. Both phones offer portrait mode. V9 uses the dual camera setup and F7 uses just a single camera with some software processing. Edge detection isn't perfect on both phones, but it's comparatively much better on the V9. Color reproduction sometimes looks better on V9 and sometimes it looks better on F7. So to keep it simple, if you want to take better portrait shots, just go with the V9. By the way, on Vivo V9, we can change the amount of background blur effect we want before taking a picture, and we can change the focus point and the amount of blur effect even after taking a picture. So that's something missing on OPPO F7. Now coming to low light performance, in low light, capturing speeds are fast on both phones, but comparatively, it was faster on F7. Even the sharpness was slightly better on F7. On V9, colors look a bit dull and faded. While on F7, images are much more cleaner, bright and colors look saturated. In low light, I like the images from OPPO F7, but I still wish colors weren't that saturated. Now coming to selfies, both phones support Auto HDR. So all these selfies were taken with Auto HDR. Selfies taken on F7 have much better dynamic range and look much cleaner. On V9, you get a faded effect in bad lighting conditions and background is completely blown out. For selfies, I'll definitely pick F7 as the winner. By the way, in good lighting conditions, V9 will perform better, but it should be able to do a better job even in bad lighting conditions. So that's the reason I'll be picking F7 over V9. Now coming to portrait selfies, this time both phones come with only a single camera on the front and both use software processing to take portrait selfies. Edge detection isn't perfect on both phones, it's almost similar. And just like with the regular selfies, F7 does a better job with taking better portrait selfies. By the way, we can still use Auto HDR in portrait mode on F7. Most of the time, you get really good results, but sometimes you get a faded effect. Now these are some selfies taken in low light indoor conditions. Both phones do a good job with a slight variation in color reproduction. Now these are some selfies taken in low light outdoor conditions. In very low lighting conditions, both phones use the display as flash, and most of the time, you get very soft selfies. All these selfies were taken with Auto HDR. Both phones mess it up, but comparatively, selfies from F7 look better. Now coming to video recording, this is a footage recorded using the rear cameras of both phones. So guys, this is the footage recorded using the OPPO F7 and the Vivo V9. On the left side I have the OPPO F7 and on the right side I have the Vivo V9, and I'm currently recording this video at 1080p resolution. That's the maximum resolution supported by F7, and on Vivo V9 we can also record video in 4K resolution. But sadly there is no stabilization on both phones, so the footage is pretty shaky. If you have stable hands, you might be able to pull out some pretty smooth or pretty stable footage. On V9, we can record video at a maximum of 4K resolution, while on F7, we can only record video at 1080p. Both phones lack stabilization, so the footage is very shaky. Footage from V9 looks dull, while on F7, footage is a bit overexposed, looks bright, and has better dynamic range. Footage on V9 has its benefits, but right out of the box, I like the footage from F7. Now this is a sample footage from the front camera. So guys, this is the footage recorded using the front-facing camera of the OPPO F7 and the Vivo V9. On the left side I have the OPPO F7 and on the right side I have the Vivo V9, and I'm currently recording this video at 1080p. That's the maximum resolution supported by OPPO F7, but on the Vivo V9 we can also record video at 4K, and the audio is from the phone itself, so you can check out the noise cancellation and stabilization offered by the phone yourself. And do let me know what's your opinion about that in the comment section below. Once again, V9 can record video at 4K resolution even on the front camera, while on F7 it can only record in 1080p. You get equally wide footage on both phones with a slight variation in color reproduction. Colors on F7 are slightly to the warmer side, so you can pick the winner in this round based on your preference. So guys, to conclude, in the camera department, OPPO F7 does a better job than Vivo V9. Cameras as a hardware are good on V9, but its software processing isn't as good as OPPO. That's one of the reasons why it lost. So guys, to conclude, in the camera department, I'll pick OPPO F7 as the winner. So guys, looking at the sample pictures and the sample footage, what's your take on the cameras on these phones? Do let me know by commenting below this video, and if you want us to make any specific video, tweet out to us with hashtag ASKGREEDYTECH on Twitter, and we will try to make it as soon as possible. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to see more cool videos on tech. I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech signing off. Have a nice day.